Nigeria, there is what we call the National Youth Service Corps, a one-year scheme where graduates serve the fatherland. Some are posted to schools, others ministries, a few companies, farms, factories, etc. Bidemi, a young graduate from the University of Ilorin, was posted to Udu local government area in Delta State to serve in a government secondary school. Good-looking guy, I must say, calm and the students' favorite, but he had a problem, which is loving everything in skirts. He slept with almost all the SS2 and SS3 girls. He didn't spend much on them. The girls kept on cooking for him because they felt being a graduate automatically means your future being secured. Amongst all the girls he slept with, only Betty got pregnant because she was naive and didn't know what to do like others to prevent getting pregnant. She was only lucky to have finished her final examinations in secondary school before the pregnancy became pronounced. When she told Bidemi, he wasn't happy because becoming a father was the last thing on his mind. He, however, did not express his feelings, owing that he had just 2 months to his passing out parade, and he wouldn't want anything to hinder him from collecting his certificates. He started playing along, first by severing the relationship he had with the other girls and giving Betty 20% of his federal government allowance. This was really huge to him, but he didn't mind as long as Betty and her mother didn't have any reason to doubt his involvement as a prospective, responsible father. Finally, the day for the personal parade came, and it was a successful event. Bidemi was not interested in any after party. His major concern was collecting his certificates, and as soon as he touched his hands, he went straight to his apartment, packed all his things, locked his door, and remained indoor, shunning all the people, including Betty, that came to congratulate him. As early as 6 o'clock a.m. the next day, he was at Lagos Park with his already purchased tickets, and before 20 minutes, they were already on transit. He was the happiest being on earth. Finally, he had escaped the hook of a teenage soon-to-become mother who has nothing doing. In his words, he said, "Person never answered John finish. He said make they call him John Bosco." He brought out his phone from his pocket and sent Betty an SMS. Immediately the message delivered, he blocked her and did same in all social media platforms. Betty read the message and had a hot press immediately. She managed to put herself together, went to his place just to be sure assumption wasn't playing a smart one on her. She got there, met an empty apartment. She sat on the floor and read the message again. "Dear Betty, this has to be the toughest decision I had taken all my life. I wish you take this in good faith. As we all know, desperate times calls for desperate measures. I came into the local government area primarily to serve and nothing more. Being a father is not something I have envisioned yet because I still want to further my education, make money, and thereafter think of building a healthy home, as I wouldn't want my children to suffer. I am so sorry to disappoint you. I am on my way back to my base, and that's to say, this will be our last conversation. May God help you in the journey of being a single mother and grant you the wisdom to train your child not to end up being like I, the supposed father, or you, the mother, who got exposed to bad things in secondary school." She called him and realized she had been blocked. Hot tears rolled down her cheeks. She became devastated. At this time, flushing the baby was never an option unless she wants her life to go in for it. She said, "I would have listened to my mother. Look at the results of my stubbornness. I am nothing but a bad child to a good mother. How would this child survive? Is it from my mother's petty trading? What was I even thinking when I decided to open my leg for a copper that has just 1 year to spend, Nudu? I don't know where he stays. I don't know any of his people. Kai! It don't be now. He's right after all. I am now a single mother. She then said to the baby in her womb, why did you choose to enter here? People have been praying, asking God to remember them, and they have money to take care of the children. Oh. But no, you decided to come to this world and suffer. Hope you are aware I just finished my secondary school, and I don't have the resources to take care of you. Your wicked father has washed his hands off our matter. Your grandfather slept when I was 10 years old, and he refused to wake up since then. Your grandmother is a petty trader. Just die now inside there so that you can be evacuated instead of coming to this world to suffer. This was just like speaking to the thin air. She managed to go home. She told her mother the recent developments, and her mother kept quiet for a few seconds to process everything. And when she spoke, the first thing she said was, thank you for uncovering my nakedness for the world to see. You paid deaf ears to all my warnings. And now people will say, her mother didn't train her well. Some will even say she is taking after her mother because a bad child in our society is always the fault of the mother. God knows I have tried. There was nothing you asked that I didn't go out of my way to make sure you have. There's no tone I didn't use in speaking to you. Yet you refuse to be content. For godliness with contentment is great gain. You still had your eyes feast on big things. And now, see where it has landed you. Let me say this. I have not gotten myself since the day I found out you were pregnant. I only pretended to be because Bidemi showed signs of responsibility. I didn't know he had this plan, waiting for the right time to execute it. Little wonder the scripture says, for the heart of man is deceitful above all who can know it, and desperately wicked. Now that he has blocked you everywhere, another expenses had been added to my already struggling business. So it is very obvious that that business will not survive the next 1 year. Betty expressed shock, and her mother said to her, come on, don't give me that look. Business always thrives on the wings of capital and not continuous removal of funds. Betty felt pity for her mother and said, Mommy, I am so sorry. I know I am a disgrace and a full disappointment. Please forgive me. And her mother said to her, you should be apologizing to yourself and your unborn child. Let me tell you why. Although I am very hurt, because it is the prayer of every mother to have children who honor them in every aspect. But as it is right now, you have failed yourself, and you have to abort the plan of going to the higher institution and look for something to do in order to cater for your child. So many things about your life will be halted because your child will now come first before you. And from the look of things, that child is not going to have the basic things he or she ought to have because you can't afford them. You failed me, yes, but the truth is you failed yourself more. I will only try to help the little way I can because the deed had been done. So keep your sorry because you will be saying it in an uncountable time to your child. This was like adding salt to a hurting injury. Betty had never thought of all this before, and she regretted ever opening her leg as a young girl. She said the same pregnancy people celebrate is what is putting me in such an unrest. The only difference here is the timing. If I had waited to get married before taking in, my mother would have been the happiest woman on earth until Grandma with dignity. Truly, there are some mistakes that the consequence will last for a lifetime, and I think this is one of them. I earnestly wish I can turn things around just for my mother's sake, because that woman doesn't deserve what I'm making her go through. I hate this child. How did he or she even enter? This is like another Jabez in the Bible. Bidemi arrived Lagos and started living a normal life. He forgot totally about Betty. He focused only on achieving his set goals. And this time, he didn't pay attention to girls because he doesn't want what happened 1977 to repeat itself. Now, that was on a lighter note. He simply did not want to get any lady pregnant outside wedlock again. Betty carried the pregnancy full term and she gave birth to a very beautiful baby girl. Her mother called the baby Ruby. Betty was well taken care of. She had a lot of pepper soup and hot water baths, and within 2 weeks of putting to bed, she became strong. Life became better because Ruby came with lots of blessings. Betty received a lot of gifts. Indeed, Ruby came with an aura of supernatural supplies. Part of the money Betty received, she gave it to her mother to add to her business. Her mother, who saw the fate of the petty trading, had to switch into Truth's business, aka Okerika. This was far better because she made a lot of profits and she was not scared of the future as she was in her previous business. The baby became 1 year and Betty was ashamed to be identified as her mother. She started nursing a plan. As God may have it, her mother's business grew. Betty started going to the shop voluntarily, and whenever she sells, she will keep 20% back and remit 80% to her mother. She was able to gather enough money after several months, and she told her mother one cool Saturday evening that she wanted to relocate to Lagos to look for a job. She told her mother to permit her go alone first, secure a job and her own accommodation, and then come back for Betty. Her mother asked, "Why not look for a job here so you can be close to your daughter?" And Betty said, "Looking for a job here is not the problem, ma, but the salary is the huge problem here. What I will be paid cannot be enough for Ruby and I in a week. Lagos has more opportunities and I only have the stage of my life to build to give Ruby a decent life." Her mother saw her points as valid points and she gave her a go-ahead. Betty was grateful and the next day, she relocated to Lagos. She stayed with her paternal auntie, her late father's younger sister. She was lucky to secure a job and her auntie enrolled her in a weekend program. So she started working and at the same time schooling and forgot everything about Ruby, pata pata. She didn't mention it to anyone that she had a daughter, and whenever she calls home, she will speak with her mother in a hurry, and before her mother will hand the phone to Ruby, she's out of the call. This continued, and she eventually finished with her school. She was grateful to her auntie who played a major role in her tertiary education. As time went on, she met with Benga, a wealthy forest trader. He wasn't that healthy, but Betty didn't care. She was only interested in his money and not his health or the number of days he has left to live on earth. Benga's family didn't like Betty because of her tribe. They fought Benga just to make sure he doesn't marry her. Benga didn't have any issue with her tribe, and Betty on her part never gave him reasons to. So together they conquered Benga's family and decided to hasten their marriage plans before another issue will spring forth. She traveled down to Udu and told her mother, an already grown Ruby, that her giving birth outside Wellock is a secret which is only known among them and the Udu community and must not be mentioned to her husband or his people. She told her daughter to address her as auntie, as she would be introduced as a niece. Betty's mother kicked against this. She said, "You can't be ashamed of your child, your own flesh and blood. I am not a party to this lie. This is pure deception." And Betty told her mother plainly, "This is my affair. If you call it deception, there is no problem about that. Benga is my husband-to-be and not yours. I will tell him when the time is right, but it is certainly not now. And I beg you in the name of God to hold your peace. Because if you don't, you will end up chasing him out of my life, and I will never forgive you if that happens." Her mother said to her, "Thor, this is not the first time you're trashing my counsel, so it is not new to me. If you had listened to me years ago, we won't be sitting here having this conversation. Since I am too small to tell you what to do, I will leave you. But don't forget, I am not a party of this, and I will never be." And Betty said, "Don't worry, mother. I will take full responsibility of whatever comes out of it." She got married and never mentioned anything about Ruby to Benga. Bidemi on his part was done with his masters and working with a good firm, earning 6 figures. He also got married to a beautiful lady called Blessing. After 9 months, Betty gave birth to a boy and they named him Desmond. She stopped sending money for Ruby's upkeep and focused on her new baby. Her mother continued taking care of her granddaughter because she called her a good luck charm, but she died as a result of stress and overthinking. The news got to Betty. She wept sore, not solely because of her mother's demise, but because deep down she knows she didn't treat her right before she passed. All the money she would have given to her to enjoy while she was alive, she used it to organize a very loud and befitting burial. Ruby was surprised because she didn't know her mother was that rich, and yet she and Grandma never had a few of at least 10%. She wondered the kind of mother and daughter Betty was and prayed silently never to be like her. Throughout Betty's stay in Udu, she didn't allow Ruby and Desmond to bond. Ruby offered to assist taking care of him on several occasions, but Betty refused bluntly, and she had to step aside and stop all she was doing already as a big sister just to avoid trouble. After the funeral, Betty took Ruby to Lagos, and I know you'll be wondering if she had revealed Ruby's true identity to her husband. Don't be in a rush, because she didn't. Ruby was never taken to her house. She dropped her in her auntie's place, the first place she stayed when she came to Lagos newly, and promised to be sending monthly stipends to her. Benga, who had been sick and managing his health before they got married, eventually died, and his family, who never loved Betty, forcefully took their son from her immediately after Benga's burial and sent her out to go remarry, as her days in their family ended the day Benga passed. Betty wanted her son back. She didn't know how best to go about it, so she told her auntie. Her auntie said to her, "Those people are mighty and wealthier than you are. As long as your son is being taken care of, I will advise you to leave him there. Build yourself, make enough money, and build your connection links. Only then will this fight be fruitful." Betty saw great sense in all her auntie said to her. She paid for another accommodation and stopped sending the monthly stipends for Ruby's upkeep. Her auntie, who was retired, had no other option than to release Ruby through an agency to become a house help. Luckily for Ruby, she was sent to a wealthy home. She wasn't carried away. She maintained her good home training, and she was loved by the couple, and they sent her to school. Bidemi and Blessing, his wife, undeniably loved themselves. They had everything apart from a child to call their own. They had gone for several tests using different hospitals just for certainty. But all the results proved that they were both okay medically. So what then is delaying the conception? Bidemi became bothered, especially because his wife became a shadow of herself and restrained herself from him. He watched his wife turn from a joyful soul into a sad woman, from a jovial woman into an introvert. One day, he remembered Betty and he suddenly said, "Could this be Kama?" He unblocked her immediately on the social media platforms, scrolled through her profile, but didn't see anything apart from her wedding picture, Desmond, her son, and some motivational quotes. This was a bit relieving to Bidemi, knowing that she had moved on. This made him to call, and Betty picked up, but he was not bold enough to speak out because he had a guilty conscience. He hung up and sent a message, apologizing and asking of his child, and promised to pay all she has spent taking care of the child from day 0 to that day. Betty saw his message and became furious, and with that intensity, she replied that she lost the child and blocked him. Bidemi had to tell his wife everything since they were both suffering the consequence of his action. Though Blessing was broken, he kept such a secret for a very long time, and she asked, "What if your past didn't catch up with us? Is that how that child would have been left suffering in the streets or wherever she is when her father is well-to-do?" Bidemi responded, but Betty said she lost the child. And Blessing said to him, "Before, what were you expecting her to say? You disappeared and allowed her as a teenage mom to face ridicule and shame alone, only to surface after several years with a nye apology. I will even do worse if I was in her shoe. My friend, she won't tell you the truth. You will have to fight real fight, sweating like a Christmas goat to find out the truth about the child you abandoned. Most importantly, we need her forgiveness. You see, something that I don't know. I am now a partaker of the consequence because of marriage. And that's why it's always very important to consider others who are related to you before taking that decision. Give me her number. Let me call," she said. And Bidemi gave her Betty's number. And his wife was so wise to call without mentioning Bidemi as her husband. She focused on building friendship, and this she did in patience and wisdom. Ruby wanted to do her industrial attachments, popularly known as IT. She entered the firm Bidemi works with to submit her application later. When she entered, it was Bidemi that first saw her. The both of them stood still looking at themselves because she was a split image of her father. It was as if she beheld herself in a mirror, and Bidemi also felt the same. He couldn't hold it again, and he asked, "What is your name? Who is your mother? And where are you from?" Do you think Ruby will be accepted in that firm? Do you also think Bidemi's search for his daughter is over? Will Ruby forgive her father when she hears the story of how he abandoned her? And will Betty allow them to reconcile? Do you also think Ruby will reconcile with her father simply because her mother wasn't there for her? All these and many more twists will be in the part 2 of the story. Please like and share the story to your loved ones. If you have not subscribed, kindly do, as we all anticipate the part 2. Until then, it is a goodbye from here, and God bless you.